Welcome to Breaking MedTech. I'm Ryan. This is Cope. Today, we are going to get right into it, and we're going to talk about pricing, right? And let me set the stage for you, right? Because I'm just going to ask Cope questions because I would say he is way more of a pro about this specific thing than I am, though we do share the same opinions on it. So we're talking about pricing today, not like pricing tiers and what should you get paid and what is CMS. That's not what we're talking about. All right. We're talking about you're selling a product that is novel to the market.
New. Right? Early. Yeah.
Right. Nothing really like you. And maybe like just to make stuff easy, like there's no reimbursement code involved in it. This is just something that is going to be used in a healthcare setting. There's not a direct reimbursement for it. And you're struggling to know what your pricing is. And it is keeping you up at night because what you think you should be getting paid is way different than what the market is actually telling you should be getting paid, which is a whole different thing that we're going to unpack. Am I right? We're good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to dispel the first myth because you brought up a myth.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard this enough to know that there's a prevailing thought that you have to have a reimbursement before anybody will buy it, which makes no sense. And I've said to people, you see that surgical bed? Yeah. Is there a reimbursement for bed?
Yeah.
Like, no. And then I'm like, get that out of people's heads just right up front. It's not accurate.
No, and that kind of was what I was getting at, is that like we're not going to talk about like the direct reimbursement stuff of we're doing like there's one would say thousands of items in a hospital that get purchased and used every single day over and over and over again that are ultimately part of operational costs and not direct patient costs. Okay.
Right.
So let's do this. All right. So let's start at the beginning. Anything that I said there, other than like the direct reimbursement, is that something you're seeing often, right? You're talking to these groups. A lot of them have never sold anything ever before.
Right.
Or they're being purchased by the university that they started at.
Right.
And they think that's a realistic situation.
Right. So it's not, you're an experiment to an extent, right? We've talked about that. But let's say you think your product is something that a health system should buy, or hospital. Let's use a hospital, right? Let's be as specific as we can. A hospital should buy my product line. It's going to cost $150,000 to buy, right? And let's just leave it at that. Let's say it's going to be $150,000 all in, and you will get these types of questions just up front. Hey, from potential end users, is there a reimbursement for this? Because sometimes they think they're not sure. That doesn't mean there has to be. They're asking a question, right? So differentiate. And if you're not sure, here's the thing to say. He's like, well, no. Is that something that keeps us from being purchased? And they usually say, oh, no. I'm literally just asking, right? So that's number one. Number two is when you're giving them pricing, of course it's going to seem like a lot of money. Everything's a lot of money. But hopefully what you're trying to prove is, are we worth it? And that's, you hear me talk about this on the value analysis stuff. It's literally, if you buy us, here's what you get for the money you spent. And I think that's and when you're early on, you may not have proof sources. You don't have many customers to say, oh my God, yes, it's worth it, right? And the funny thing is, like, Rye, how many people have you ever heard say like, oh my gosh, it's worth it, and I calculated it gave us a return on investment of 20 to 1. 0.0. No one says that, right?
Yeah. You know what was funny is I know that this is like this is me being kind of condescending. I remember showing people in the periop, VPs of periop, like 5-6 years ago, and me for one of the products that we were selling, and I put together a phenomenal spreadsheet that had inputs and everything, and it showed them like, here's what your actual ROI is going to be. Like, they were like, yeah, I don't care. They're like, yeah, they're like, I'm sure it's great on a piece of paper. I don't care. No. Like it's because it's like, it's just sometimes it's a foreign concept to them. And I could say it's 20-1 or 10-1, or, it's theoretical until it happens, or until you have a proof source.
Yeah. And you have to do it. And then they're like, okay, thanks. Now I can make my decision.
Yeah.
Because I can support it with some numbers that are legit. Like I remember when you were doing that, I do it all the time. The numbers are legitimate, but they're forward looking many cases, right? And you're saying like, I've estimated these are and most of the time it's way more important if it comes from their employees rather than me. So we use these things to say, here's how Place is calculated. Put your numbers in, and it will give you a sense of what you should expect from this. But as the earlier on you are, and we were early on with that product, it wasn't a proof source. It was a way to wrap your head around the value, perceived value, but value of the product, right? And if you recall, when we did that with Places, very few of them said, we don't like your price. Now, they occasionally would, but they weren't saying, you're not worth it. That's the difference, right? So from a pricing standpoint. So we covered a thing that I think is a prevailing attitude that they shouldn't worry about too much, is reimbursement.
Yeah.
We talked about a little bit of the value. What else? Like,
do you think that a lot of it is based off of the fact when these groups go and, like, let's say you have a number in your mind. Let's say we're selling, I always like to pick surgical software, right? But like you're very niche surgical software, and the only thing that your target is ASC surgical software. And in your mind, you're like $100,000, $100,000. And you go, where'd you get that number from? And they're like, well, we did reverse math. We have to hit a certain margin, and
right.
It
comes from a couple places. Yeah. Usually in that case, especially with early on, it comes from, well, somebody told us we think we're worth it.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
How many people? One?
It's a good input, but it's a good input.
Yeah.
The other one is, well, it's cost based. Right, so here's our cost, and we need to make margin. Sometimes it's what we told our investors our customers would look like and probably pay, right?
Yeah.
And I think the earlier, and you laugh because we've heard that many times.
I got to get this number.
So the cost based is, well, like, listen, dude, we can't sell it if it's below this price. We're not making any money. To which I tend to think in my head, and have occasionally stated out loud, that's a you problem, right? Because here's what the market is saying the value is. But I would say, on the flip side, the companies oftentimes don't believe the salespeople, because traditionally what I've seen is salespeople, when somebody's like, well, can't we, listen, this price is too high, I need it here. Salespeople immediately say, let me see what I can do.
Oh, I 1,000% agree.
Right? And that's poor training of salespeople. Yeah. I understand. I was guilty of it when I was a younger rep, right? But you learn that, and this is, we could dive deep, but I will say, once you realize how valuable your product is, you are much more effective at protecting your price. And I always think you should charge an amount that's higher than most people think. But I'm also like, I'm about to prove to them that this is a 20-to-1 investment. right? Or 30 to 1. And I've calculated it. And they say, how'd you do it? I'm like, well, that's what I do. But I can sit in front of people and say, hey, at the end of this, and you look at it, and that VP of surgical services is like, oh yeah, we can do this. Would you come up with 20 to 1? And they're like, yeah, it might be 19 to 1. It might be 25 to 1. We're estimating. But like at the end of the day, they're like, okay, we're doing it. Right?
Yeah.
Because, and you know what they don't say? Is they're like, I need you to knock that down to $146,000 or this deal isn't happening. I'm like, why would we do that? Like, I mean, I understand. Do you need this to get the deal done so you can look like you wrenched my arm behind my back? Because I'll do that.
Yeah.
But understand, like, this thing's worth, and I've said to people, I actually think I think I should be charging you $200,000 a year because I think it's worth that. But we're here to get customers and make people happy and delight them, to your point. Like, but understand, like, I'm not here, and it has nothing to do with me being commissioned. I mean, honestly, you sometimes think that, but, like, it's not. It's, I believe it's worth this. And how do I calculate that? Well, that's what we ask these companies, like, oh, we're going to charge you $150,000. Cool. Where'd you come up with that number? Why is it worth that? It's not us being a jerk.
No, and like, you know? I've seen enough of these groups, and it's always like a double-edged sword. Like, reps, well, we'll discount it, right? Because if you're a commission rep, and like you don't want to pay your reps salary and you're paying them commission, guess what they're going to want to do? No matter what, they're going to want to sell it. They will not have your best interest in mind because they don't get paid unless they sell something. So you want highly motivated people who are largely commission or 100% commission. They're going to do whatever they can to get that product in the door. Sometimes it's not in the benefit of you, but like that's what they're hired to do. They only get paid if they kill. And the other part about it is I think, and I know just from like, and this isn't anything that I think is a secret, is like, there's a lot of groups who go like, oh, we won't make any money at that number, who are making money at that number. It's just not what they promised their investors they would make at that number. And it's not what they want to make at that number, which ties into what we're ultimately trying to communicate to these groups are sometimes you're going to have to take a haircut with your first one or two just to get a proof point, and knowing that as you get this in somewhere, you're going to become more efficient. Your operational costs are going to drop. You're going to learn a lot.
The old rule of thumb, which I think is a fact, is you don't give a discount unless you get something for it.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing that you get for it is a currency that comes in many different forms. So, for example, and here's the rationale. The early stage company is like, look, we have a chance to get our first two customers, but we can only, using my example, but they only think it's worth $100,000, right? And I would say, okay, well, it might be worth it, but here's what we're going to make them give us for that $50,000 haircut, right?
Yeah.
Is we need them to be a site who will take phone calls, to talk to others. Like, that's $50,000 on our end that might be worth paying to get delighted customers that we can say, call them. And you tell them that, and you put it in a document, and you say, you agree that if you're thrilled with this, that you will take it. Because here's what two people think is the case. The CEO, founder, and the investors think, well, wait a minute, wait. The minute we give them this price at $100,000, everybody's going to demand that. And I'm going to tell you something right now. It's not cast in stone. It's not in a die. The die has been cast. Incorrect. Because in a year when I'm selling this, and I'm now selling it for $200,000, and somebody's like, hey man, my buddy down the street told me they got it for $100,000. And I was like, yeah. And they got it at a huge discount because they agreed to do A, B, C, test this, let our new people come in and get trained in the facility. We we wring that sponge dry. That discount we gave them, we don't need that anymore. Our price is $200,000 because everybody, it's worth that. And at some point you have to be able to say, and if you don't think it's worth it, that's okay. That's cool. Like, I'm not here to convince you it is. It's your choice to decide whether it is or not. But you, like, they got an early price because we weren't ready for people like you. We had things we didn't even know that they worked with us to help us understand. And that's why they got that discount.
Can I also, right? Yeah. And I would also go like, I'm being dead serious when I say this, and you've been doing this for centuries longer than me. I don't think one time I've ever had a customer go, well, this group is getting this price. Now, that doesn't mean that you haven't heard it. I'm sure that you have.
I have. Yeah.
But it's what I would almost go like, I want you to do a PSA. It doesn't happen that often.
No, I can think of the times it happened in my career, and there's like 5 times, and I remember all of them, right? Like, it's rare. And frankly, like that's sort of the founder's dilemma where they think everybody's thinking and talking.
Oh yeah, no, let's not even get started on that. Like everyone
and
thinks
they're
about
not.
Me.
Yeah, and they're not, and it's okay. I get it. Like we're all guilty of that. But they think word gets out, and okay, let's game strategize this. Word gets out. So, like I've said this. Ryan, I had multiple back when I was doing spine, and prices were starting to get haircuts hard.
Yeah.
I would have materials management or a supply chain person turn their screen around and say, hey, man, I'm paying for this number. And it's a part number that was commonly used. I'm paying $200 for this. And this is coming from the GPO that doesn't share prices, but does. And they're saying the average, like that somebody's out there getting it for $150, right? And I'm like, and I would literally, for those who are watching, I would literally do this. I'd stare at their screen and go, play big dumb cope, and I'd be like, do you know what account that is? And they say, oh no, like it's blinded. I'm like, huh. Well, I'd say, I don't know. Like I'll look into it. But understand, like, I don't know if that place buys 1 million of these things or 10 of them. And so, like, it's hard to say without having some context, or the construct that it fits into. Like, I don't know. And they would go, well, I have to check. And I'm like, all right, I'll look into it and I'll see if I can find some place that's doing it. But, like, understand the construct price, and an orthopedic and spine person understands that, like, it's one of the components of a multi-component construct. Like, for all I know, those things, you're getting those things for less than those guys. I have no idea. And it always went away. But that used to happen, and I had to train a couple of reps. Like, look, they're going to turn the screen, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to stare at it and then ask these questions. And they all went away. They were just doing their job. So, but that's the extent that word got out. Well, what if this director of perioperative services goes to another health system and they say, well, we got it for $100,000 down there? I'm like, so? Right? Like, remember all the stuff we made you do for that?
It's so, like, if you said it happened to you 5 times and you've been a med 20 years, 15 years? I don't know how long you've been.
20 years of med device. And this was 15 years ago. It's not happened since then. And
so, like, it doesn't happen that often. So if, like, that's a fear of yours that, like, oh, it's going to get out, I promise maybe it will, but, like, more often than not, I don't think it is. And I will say, like, I did enjoy sometimes when people would turn that screen around and they would be like, we're getting this tibial implant for this amount of money. And then you would go, like, you would then later find out, they'd be like, yeah, we sell the tibia for X amount of money, but we sell the femur for $500 more. So it comes out to the same exact price.
Yeah, it's an inside base. You have to understand that business, but like, that's the extent of it. And I would say, like, if you're honorable and you treat customers with respect, and you charge money, right? I mean, right. Do you know what an iPhone costs? Yes. Do you know what an Audi A8, A6, whatever costs? Yeah. So, right, like the prices are out there, and who cares? Right?
Well,
Like,
you know what the
is
funny
your
part is
product
like the prices
worth
are
it?
out there. Do you know how much your iPhone probably costs to make? I guarantee you it's not what you think. Apple has $1 trillion in cash from selling iPhones at cost.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, what the cost of the product is not what
No,
it's worth.
no.
And that's Buffett said that, like, cost is what you pay, value is what you get, right? And I think that's important. Like, and this goes back, sales ultimately is the transfer of confidence. If I believe my product delivers 10x, 15x, 20x, then I don't need a discount, right? Unless I get something. What do I get? It all depends on what currency you need, because it is worth it in some early accounts to say, look, we might need to do this, but we're going to make them be an actual partner.
Oh.
We're not just giving them a price. We're going to get something out of this. And every time I've asked a customer to do that, they're like, absolutely. Yeah, we want this to work for us too. And we know our inputs with you guys would make it more customized to us and more successful in the market, of course. And that's us not quite being convinced of our value. It's prospective, but we haven't had customers go, dude, this is so worth it. Like, I'm so glad you did this. You could have charged us. I actually had a client say this to me a month ago. He's like, listen, I have to tell you something. After we were done, he's like, you're way undercharging. Like, he's like, you're worth 10 or 20 times what you charged me. And I said, I know, but I needed multiple people to have wins so that I could turn it on and say, I don't have to say it. Call them. They'll tell you why my price is going up, right?
So,
but that matters.
Yeah. So I think, all right. So if we were going to learn anything from this, okay.
Am I answering your question? Like, is this
No,
helping
you did,
them?
right? Because it would be like, it's okay to take a haircut. You just need to get something in return, because this is something that, I thought was really good that my, a previous employer that I used to work for that sold software would do is like, they had like 3 or 4 like flagship accounts that I'm pretty sure got very good discounts. But guess what? If somebody needed to go through a clinic walk, or you needed to pick up the phone, or you needed to do anything, do you know who was going to get a call? Those people, right?
Yep.
Like, they were ultimately closers. They were helping you. They were, so like if you normally charge 200,000 and you're getting a $50,000 break, but you're going to get all of these things. Really, what I would tell you, like, I know we often joke about like planning it out. It's like, it's literally listing those things out and go like, what is this actually worth, right? If I have a site where I can now send somebody to, and they can go and touch it and see it and talk to somebody, what is that worth? Is it worth?
That is the essence of this question. Absolutely.
Is it worth $50,000? Because I can go build a facility in our warehouse that looks similar to this, a lab or something like that, and I can go build it and people can go look at it and everything. I still got to fly them here. I still got to do that. Or for $50,000, I can take a loss on, not a loss, but I can reduce my margins on this one, but I have a legitimate site that I can send somebody to, and now they're seeing it in real action. And then I would say, if that's the approach, which I think is the one that we're promoting to these types of groups, is you have one job then, if you're taking that $50,000 haircut. And it is, you better delight and make that the world's happiest customer. If you're selling a hardware or a technology, you better make sure, because how many times have we seen these deals put together, and then like oh, the machine never works. We have a tech here every single day. We haven't used it in a month and a half. We haven't done like that's where that $50,000 investment has become an absolute waste because you didn't do what you're supposed to do.
Well, and I think you brought up some really good examples, and I think let me first of all defend Med Device for a second. Med Device is short of the robotics and the pain management people have tended to they're the ones who've had to make business cases every single day, all the time. A lot of other people have not had to do this. So they never had to defend price because price was never really an issue. It is now. And so we're asking people who never had to do it or to be comfortable and confident. And that's sort of unreasonable. I understand where they come from. And so I get what they're talking about. So anybody that's listening to this, I would say, yeah, if you're uncomfortable with this, I get it. We've not really talked much about this in the past 20 years till recently. So that's number one. I understand that. Number two, I would say if regardless of whether you're a spine surgeon, a director of perioperative services, head of the emergency department, and you bring in something that with which they are interested, but I don't know much about. Who are these? What is this? This seems too good to be true or whatever. The first thing they ask is who else is using this, right? And what we find is when you have somebody else that's using it and they talk to them and they're delighted, the customer that's currently using it at a significant discount. By the way, we're not giving it to them for free. We're not doing that.
That's an important
under no
thing.
circumstance are we doing that because number one, then they don't value it. And number two, why would we do that? If it's so valuable to them, why would they not pay for it? They may not pay as much as we want, but they've got to pay. If they don't want to pay, move on.
Right? Can we just we'll stop for a second and go. That is an important thing. This is not you cannot apply these concepts to people that are piloting your site or doing this or they never paid for it but they get to keep it because there is a intrinsic value that comes along with a transaction of cold hard cash between two groups, right? And you and I are both on the same spectrum, and I'll go to my grave going I don't care what anyone says. You do not. I don't care if it's a teaching university. I don't care if it's Stanford University. They're not getting it for free.
Nope.
You're not getting it for free. You're not getting it for free just because you're Stanford.
They deserve
entitlement.
They deserve a logo freebie.
Yeah,
and I'd say you may get a logo discount.
You could,
You ain't getting, but meanwhile, your investors are like, hey, dude, we need Stanford's logo on our website. I'm like, really? Because 90% of the hospitals I talk to are like, we don't pay any attention to what they do because we know they probably got it for free to use their logo.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't carry the juice. What carries the juice is people who like it, use it, whatever it is, and are happy. And they take a phone call and they say, Rod, listen, you're going to want to get this thing. This is where it solved our problems. We don't we don't make money. It's not like we're a commission salesperson. We're an end user. We're thrilled with this thing. I think if don't use it here, it's not good for that. Now that person goes, okay, this thing's legitimate and this could solve our problem. That's what we talked about the buyer's journey. The buyer's journey at this point we're not Coca-Cola. We are not Medtronic. We are somebody they never heard of. That credibility is worth $50,000, but it ain't worth $150,000. Because you don't get that.
I'll tell you
for
what.
free.
And the other part of it would be, what I get to do, and this is just the marketing me being selfish. I get to come in and film videos. I get to come in and do stuff. I get to do testimonials. I get to use your name. I get to do. You want a $50,000 discount? You're getting a $50,000 discount. I'm buying something with that $50,000 discount. It is going towards.
Darn right. Yeah,
it's going towards, and then you're fine. Then because you could go again. If your investors, I don't rub elbows with those people typically. I'm uncouth, I believe. That's a good description of me. I just spilled coffee on myself. But like that's, you can go to your investors and go, hey, we're going to take a $50,000 haircut, but we're getting this. And I've calculated, I'm going to take value analysis language here. I've calculated, and those things in the real world would cost us X amount of money. So we're actually getting a sweetheart deal on our end that they have no idea that they're doing to us, because we're going to go in there, we're going to film a testimonial series, we're going to film a video series, we're going to have all our marketing stuff. They're signing off on it. It's part of the contract. Part of the deliverables for getting this massive discount is we're getting this, and they're contractually held to it. And if they don't hold up to it, they're getting the full price.
Yeah, exactly. And do you know two groups that totally understand what you just described? The customer and the investors. Like the investors go, oh yeah, great. Okay, that's a good investment. And I would say, like, if I were a founder CEO and I created something, my plan would be like, we're going to sell this thing as hard as we can for $150,000. But we realize that the first 2 or 3 places, we don't quite have the confidence because we don't have the history of proof. So we may take a couple of haircuts on the first 3, and it's going to be those 3. And here's the haircut we'll take. It's going to be up to $25,000 off that price. But in return, we want what Ryan just said, right? And those customers will go, you got yourself a deal. In the meantime, I'm telling the investors, just so you know, my plan is this. My 4th one is getting no discount. We probably will raise our prices. Once we get wins and we're hearing it ourselves, but early on, we may take some discounts, but they're investments in return for things like, and ultimately, and I like how you said, we've estimated that the return, nobody thinks that's a bad idea when you tell them that, but like I understand why people think, hey, listen, once that price is established, that's the price. And I would say, no, it's not. Plus, I can always say to future customers, oh yeah, when they bought this thing for $100,000, it didn't have this, and this included with it. Mm-hmm. Now it does. Now I should be charging you $200,000, but you're at $150. You know?
I think, the big thing here, right, you're going to take a discount. Just make sure you're getting something out of it. And it's funny, I talk to people.
Whatever you value. Yeah,
whatever you think about it. Like, and whatever you value, is important, but like how you communicate it internally is equally important. Mm-hmm. And I know that I talk a lot about external communication, but how you communicate those things internally is just as important, because if I go into a room and I'm kind of like, and I'm like, hey, we're going to have to take a discount and it's not going to, and I'm being real meek and like disappointed about it, it's going to be completely taken differently than if I go into a room confidently, because anyone who knows me knows I'm confident. I'm not. That anyone, but when I go into a room and I go, hey, we're going to take a haircut, we're going to do this, and we're going to get this, and here's the plan, and we're going to execute on these things so we maximize our ROI. We're going to make sure that is working. We're going to make sure that we're there. We're going to make and you go and you give somebody, an internal team, a plan of here's how we're going to take this from here to here. You're going, I promise you, it's okay to take a haircut. Now, does that I would love to do the Tesla thing where Tesla doesn't give discounts. Tesla doesn't advertise. Tesla doesn't get discounts. And there's lots of companies that do that where they're like, I'm never going to discount.
Ryan, how did they did it with some of the best guerrilla marketing of all time?
Yeah.
So
it's a little bit different.
And you know why they don't discount? Because people keep paying for it.
Oh yeah,
it's changed a little bit with them, but
it's a little bit easier to not discount when you have 500,000 people still waiting for their Teslas.
Right. So I would close this way to think about pricing this way, because I try to use analogies for people. And I would say a lot of these smart startup med device people are bringing, I've seen hundreds of them now, Like, I'm astounded at what they come up with. But they're selling nail guns to people who have only had hammers for the longest time, right? And so the goal is not to say, hey, the hammer, we're a better hammer. The goal is to say, we let you do X amount of shingles or windows or roofs that you can't because you're using something that is manual, right? Would you expect to buy a nail gun for the same price as a hammer? Of course not. Well, that would be, it might be 30 times more expensive. I have no idea. I don't, again, the last time you open up my toolbox, you find a checkbook in it. But I know this, like, you can buy a hammer, you can buy a nail gun. But I know this when you don't look at them the same because they don't give you the same, they don't deliver the same. Oh. Would you, like, that's how you have to think about your product. And if you're not sure, if I'm like, look, I know we can do more shingles, but I'm not, like, Ryan does his estimated thing, but it'd be cool if 3 roofers, we timed it, we did it, and I gave it to him for $250 instead of selling it for $800. And I'm just like, fellas, I need you to prove it. I need to test this. You're gonna love it. You're gonna be thrilled. And that discount I gave you, here's what I get for it. You get on my commercials. You tell me all about it, and I get to quote you, and you take a phone call from other roofers. You don't have to tell other roofers you love it. But if other roofers ask you, answer them honestly, right? Mm-hmm. That's all you need to do. Is that worth me taking a haircut on a couple of nail guns because I've invented the first nail gun ever? Yes. Right? Like, yes. And we think of it that way. But if I'm the rep too, come on, dude. Like, if somebody comes in and the supply chain comes in and goes, hey, man, we buy these hammers for $12. Yours should be $11. And I'm trying to sell for $800. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no. What? If you don't want to look at value, I'm not talking price. That's the rule. And it's uncomfortable sometimes. But if you believe in your product, and the way you really get belief in your product is when you hear customers talking about it. When you hear that, you are turbocharged because you knew it, but now you believe. They're different. Now you believe, you're a salesperson, you're the CEO, and now you don't ever have to discount again. Why would you?
You have data, you have video. Like, that's where I'm like, and I know
I
know we made up a number of like 50,000, but like that is a realistic thing of like, you might have to discount a little bit. As long as you get something out of it, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And that, again, that doesn't mean that reps should just be going in there discounting just to discount. Like, you have to get something out of it. Okay.
Yeah. When reps call me and say, hey, how low can I sell this? I'm like, I want to hang the phone up on them. Like, what are you talking about?
You know what? Honestly, you know what the funny part? Like, when you say that, and this is for anyone who's listening, Breaking Med Tech After Dark, is like those conversations with those people. Like, as a rep, like, I know what my lowest, and like, I'm a little bit different. You're a little bit different. Like, I know going into that conversation what my lowest price is. I'm never calling someone and going, what's my lowest price? I know going in what my lowest price is, which is a whole different conversation of like, you should know what your lowest price is. And I would tell you, guess what? You should train your reps if you are the CEO listening to this or VP of sales or whatever. And you know that you are okay with giving discounts because you've had these conversations up front, but you're getting something from it. When a value analysis person or a VP of whatever division you're talking to goes, hey, we need a discount, you go, that's fine, but we're going to get something out of it. And that should be their immediate response.
Yep.
And they train them.
Here's the old hoops coach in me too. I'll tell you how low you can sell it if you tell me how high you can sell it.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know, like, because selling at a higher price, by the way, people think, ooh, that's like, I don't know. What are you talking about? Like, we're trying to establish the value of this product. Mm-hmm. Because the nail gun why is it worth $800? Not because my cost is $250 plus X. That's a way to protect yourself. but it's what do people think it's worth? And sometimes if your sales, if you can't deliver, if it's constantly breaking or the nail gun doesn't work or you have to replace it every 6 months, it might only be worth 500. That's when the market starts to tell you what it's worth. But there's nothing icky with saying my product is worth this. Allow me to show you. And then you, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, make the decision. And if you don't feel that it's worth it, then I would not, if I were in your shoes, I would not buy it either.
Yeah, no. Again, was it learn quickly? Learn quickly. That would be the big thing. Is
did I help? Did I give any insights
no,
into this?
I think we did.
Okay, I hope so.
You know what? I know we did. I know we helped someone.
We'll discuss it in Breaking MedTech After Dark.
Yeah, Breaking MedTech After Dark. That's like a series where I just go live at midnight. And I'm just sitting in like a dark room. Yeah, I'm very irritable because I should be sleeping. Or maybe I fell asleep on the couch and then I woke up and now I'm just in a bad mood. Yeah, it's just
I'm going to suggest you put that behind a paywall. I think that's a winner.
Yeah, Patreon. So that is Breaking MedTech. We hope you learned some stuff about pricing. Just if you're going to discount pricing, just get something in return. It's okay to discount.
That's our take-home message is, how valuable do you think your product is? What's its value? And if you do discount, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Get something out of it and know that the die is not cast. So those are probably our 3 points. Ryan, I think those are great questions. And we sometimes joke, but this is really important, especially early on.
Yeah.
It's every cut. Yeah, I totally get why people are nervous about it, particularly founders. And I would say it's okay. It'll be okay. And it's not for the future. The better we get at making this product and better we get at pleasing customers or delighting them in the terminology, the more it's worth. Our price goes up.
Yeah.
That's okay. We have a plan for it. It's all right. Yeah. So, I hope this helps. I really do because I think it's important.
I think, no. If you're, now we're saying this at the end, but if you're a MedTech CEO or VP of sales, you should listen to this episode and take notes. So
yeah,
we should have done that at the beginning. All right. This is Breaking MedTech. Cope is still inevitable.
We'll see you guys next time on Breaking MedTech.
Bye-bye.